My name is Jessica Allen. I'm almost 22 years old. I'm about to graduate university with a BA in film production, and I was born with TOFS. This is my story. TOFS is a defect that develops in the fetus when it's 4 to 8 weeks. It's where your esophagus and trachea don't connect to your lungs or your stomach, which means I don't eat normally, and when I was born I couldn't breathe. I was born in Bishop Auckland in County Durham on June 30th, 1994. I've always been interested in my condition, and I think I've always wanted to find out more about it from others, from my parents. I learnt quite early on that the condition isn't genetic, so that means that my children won't have to go through what I had to go through.
As soon as you were born, you weren't breathing and you were blue, so they took you away, straight away. There'd been some distress, so they took you away, took you to the special care baby unit, and then they tried to put a nasogastric tube down so they could feed you, and it wouldn't go because the end of the pipe was cut off, so there was nowhere for this tube to go. So they took you away for an X-ray, and that's when they realised what the problem was.
How well did the doctors react with TOFS being such a rare condition?
So it was when they came into us to explain everything. Was the first time obviously we knew anything about it, and you can obviously only gauge from what they say as to what was wrong and the severity of the condition.
I want to find out more so people like my parents, myself, GPs and doctors have more information so they can treat the patients more quickly and efficiently, and so more information is just out there for people to know about it.
At the time, it was pretty distressing. I think it was the terminology and the medical words that they were using, and the name of the whole condition. When you just had a baby, and half a day later they're telling you that you've got a Trachea Oesophagus Fistular and an esophageal atresia. None of it makes any sense.
We'd never heard of TOFS. Obviously, one, because obviously no internet around, so you can't look up all these various things. So then when you're told this, as well as trying to take in everything else, what should be a joyful occasion, you suddenly had very little contact with your baby. You realise obviously there's something wrong. There's only so much they can tell you as they find it out.
And I think some of it, when you've had the baby, you're in one hospital and they want to take you to another one, and you're going away in an ambulance, and there's a little bit of worry around that. You're thinking,
I remember the words were told
scary.
that don't try to follow the ambulance, you won't be able to keep up. Now, again, talking about the reaction, that kind of gives you an idea of how they felt the urgency was.
I found out about TOF Community about 4 or 5 years ago. I was just sort of researching more about the condition and sort of widening my knowledge about it. I found their website and saw that they were supported by Children in Need, which was quite nice to see, being that it's a rare condition and not many children, not just in the UK but all around the world, are born with it.
Yeah, morphine, you do a tube for morphine, a tube for your breathing, a tube for food, and all the cotton wool is just protecting your head from the tubes, and that's why it's taped down so that you couldn't knock it off if you moved around or anything.
I actually don't remember you moving a lot. I think for a lot of the time, unfortunately because of the drugs and what have you, you obviously slept quite a lot. About
3 days old there, and you've got blood pressure machine permanently attached to you as well. And then we could hold you once all the headgear that had the breathing tubes attached to you, we could pick you up and actually hold you then, as you were breathing on your own, and then up into the ward after a week.
If you think about it, this is kind of how you should have been on the first day. Gradually, machines would disappear. So that was, other than the doctors saying, we're managing to do, this, that and the other, it was just the fact that we'd suddenly come down and there'd be a machine missing, or a part of a machine missing, or there'd be one less bag on the holder. So that, I think, as a parent, kind of gives you an indication that things must be going the right way.
I think they must have been terrified, a bit beside themselves really, to go through something so traumatic. TOFS doesn't really affect my life now. Not such like in a probably big impactful way as it did when I was little. But I don't know, I'd had to do the normal things like go out with friends and have a good time. And I don't know, I just sort of like lived my life, I guess. Yeah, it doesn't affect me. Was there anything that the doctors could have done during the pregnancy?
The only thing I ever knew of was any excess water that the mother was carrying. It's a sign that the baby's not swallowing in the uterus. They never mentioned anything to me about carrying any excess water. And then just moving forward, they said that once you'd had a baby with TOFS, if you were to go on and have another baby, they would give you a more intense scan that could see, into the esophagus and things like that to see if there was any damage there when you were pregnant. But no, not back then. Whether that's changed now or not, I don't know.
I remember this one time. It sounds really stupid now when you think of it. I think I must have been about 7 at least. I'd just moved to London and I remember having this nightmare of an alley near where I lived and someone came up behind me and weirdly unstitched my scar that I had. I mean, I woke up, I was scared. I was a bit like, oh my God, could somebody do that? And you think of it now, you're like, realistically, no one can do that. Your scar, it's healed. But in this dream, he unpicked everything, and my scar was open again. And I think that was the first time I'd really thought about it. My scar being something very big, something a big part of me. But yeah, I remember that was, for a 7-year-old, quite scary. In terms of, it wasn't like a monster under the bed, it wasn't anything like that, it was something completely different. After my last operation, I suppose for a while I felt a difference. I remember it must be about 4 years ago, it must have been now. I remember sort of thinking to myself, I was having quite a lot of problems. I remember thinking, I need another stretch, I need something. It's my esophagus that isn't wide enough. But I mean, I suppose, yeah, you feel a difference when you've just had one. But I mean, after a while, you obviously get used to it. And you think you're normal now and you'd be fine. But I mean, since then I've been fine, I've been dealt with it. It's just that my esophagus doesn't stretch with my body as I grew older and grew taller. As I got older, were there any disadvantages to having TOFS?
You had what they call a TOFS cough. So you had a really raspy cough, rattly noise if you did have a cough, or even sometimes when you were sort of talking or breathing, you could hear a rattly noise. You got that?
You get a lot of chest infections, just purely because they collapse this side of the lung to get in to do the operation. It obviously just left you susceptible. So as soon as you had a cough or a cold, we knew where it was going. The fact that you walk into the GP surgery, it's like, no, that antibiotic doesn't work, we need this one. We got to obviously know a little bit how your body reacted before the GP did, kind of thing.
And kidney infections are often linked with TOFS. I don't know if they ever knew why.
My mum always told me when I was younger that when I was eating I'd need a drink, just in case anything got stuck. I mean, even now, I still have one with me. Because it is painful when something does get stuck. But I mean, you wash it down and it's fine. It's really only the starchy foods that sort of do this. It's the chips, it's the bread, it's the pasta and the rice. The only hospital I can really remember knowing a lot more information about it was Great Ormond Street in London. I was treated there from when I was about 8 to 16. They performed the most recent operation I've had, which was when I was 13 years old. I've researched all 6 types of TOFs, and to be honest, I think I'm one of the lucky ones. A lot of people have had it worse than I have. I don't think TOFs had much impact on my life. It's really just my eating habits. I remember in primary school kids used to ask where I got my scar from. I'd have to explain that when I was born I had to have an operation. But I think it was just more kids' curiosity than anything. I suppose I was a bit conscious of my scar when I went into high school. But now it's just a part of who I am. I've sort of, dealt with it. It's a part of me.